I was thinking before I started this, maybe I should shave or put on a nice shirt or something, but this is probably going to be the first of many videos where I just look disheveled and unkempt and tired and confused. So why not start out strong? I have no idea what I'm doing. Oh, where do I even start? For a while, I was a security guard at a hospital in Syracuse, New York. Wasn't the worst job I ever had, but around the start of 2021, I was just generally dissatisfied with and unhappy with my life. I wasn't optimistic about where I was going, what I was doing, what was next. And one night when I was at work, I worked night shift, and I was in the ER, the emergency department that night, and I was right on the edge. The right stimulus, the right words was enough to get me to decide that I needed to do something different. And wouldn't you know, call it fate, call it destiny, call it coincidence, I got what I needed that night. I was standing outside a patient's room, and a nurse asked me if I was okay. I don't know, I guess I must have just been wearing my mood on my face or something. I laughed it off. I said, "Oh, haha, nowhere else I'd rather be right now." She said something to me I'm never going to forget. Don't think about it too much, just do it. Don't think about it too much, just do it. She didn't know exactly what she was telling me, but that was it. That was the moment. And things in the ED quieted down enough. I went and sat down. Then I laughed. I must have looked crazy. I was just sitting there laughing. And I knew in that moment that my life was changing for the better. It was like this weight lifted off my chest. Suddenly, all this pressure that I was putting on myself to perform, to progress, to make career changes, to do this or that. Suddenly, none of that mattered anymore. I called my supervisor over and I told him I was going to put in my notice. I went home, started listing my possessions on the Facebook Marketplace, sold my car, moved out of my apartment, and I bought a van. I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know quite how it was all going to work out, how I was going to do what I wanted to do. I figured I'll figure that out later. I'll make it up as I go along. And at the time, I was telling people I'm looking to be out of New York by the beginning of February or the beginning of April at the earliest. It is now May 12th, almost noon, and I'm maybe 20% of the way done with my van build. I've got solar panels on it. I've still got a lot of work cut out for me, but probably the first time in my life I'm actually optimistic about what I'm doing next, even if I don't know what next is. My birthday's tomorrow, May 13th. I'll be 29. For my whole adult life, and even much of my teen life probably, I always had something of a vague 5 year plan. When I was 20, I had a pretty good idea about what I wanted to be doing and where I wanted to be when I was 25. And then age 23 would creep around, and I'm like, okay, so maybe that doesn't look right for 25, but when I'm 27, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to be doing. And then 25 comes around, and I'm like, okay, so maybe that isn't realistic for when I'm 27, but when I'm 30, this is what I want to be doing, and this is where I want to be. Up until I was 28. 28 now, technically, for another another 12 hours. And for the first time in my adult life, I don't even know what I'm going to be doing 6 months from now. And I have an odd peace with that. It's exciting. It's scary. It's terrifying. Oh my goodness. But I'm optimistic. I'm actually positive. I actually have a positive outlook on my life now. I'm looking forward to what's next, even if I don't know what that is. And I'm not just going to be wandering mindlessly. I do have sort of running my own business, although I started it last summer and sort of ran it into the ground, but I think it could thrive on the road. It's called the Farm to Table Company, and I'll link it in the description. f2tco.com. It's sort of a e-farmer's market that never closes. So imagine for a second you need to buy some groceries, and you don't want to go to Walmart, Tops, Whole Foods, whatever grocery chain is relevant where you are. So you pull up a map of your area on the website, and you see that 2.5 miles is a guy selling gallons of milk, and you can buy a dozen eggs from him for 50 cents. And then, oh, look, the lady across town, she has a vegetable garden in her backyard, and you can buy some radishes and beets and onions and carrots and whatever else she has growing in her backyard. When COVID first struck, late spring, summer of 2020, you would go into grocery stores and see things like limit 1 per customer, limit 2 per customer. And a lot of times the grocery store shelves were bare. But what didn't make sense to me was why me, a single guy, was entitled to 1 gallon of milk and 1 dozen eggs, while a single mother of 3 shopping for her whole family was also only entitled to 1 gallon of milk or 1 dozen eggs or whatever else. While at the same time, the producers still had these products. The farmers, the growers, they still had stuff that they needed to distribute, but their supply chain was telling them, hey, I'm sorry, we can't take all of your product. You're going to have to dump some milk, or you're going to have to bury your eggs, or whatever. And it just didn't make sense to me that all this stuff was going to waste. And it became painfully clear to me that we can't always rely on our distribution, our system that's currently in place. We can't always rely on our government to take care of us. And I thought it would be beneficial if we could take care of each other. If there was a system in place, a method for people to pick up their neighbors, to help them, to barter with them, give them what they need. So the website still needs some work. It needs some maintenance, but it's live, and over the next weeks and months, I'm really hoping that it builds. But I also understand that I can't rely on that to be how I generate income. So I'm going to be working on some other stuff too, other ways to make money on the road, and I'll expand on that in a later video. But if you think what I'm doing is cool and you want to support me, I mean, I hate the idea of asking strangers for money on the internet, but I'm going to open up a Cash App, a Venmo, and a PayPal too, and I'll link those below, and you can find my tags right here. So if you want to send me some gas money here or there, it wouldn't go unappreciated. I know I'm going to struggle. I know some days are going to suck, but that's okay. A lot of my life, a lot of my adult life thus far, there have been times when it really sucked. And I was stable. I had a good job. I had an apartment that I was able to pay for. I had all the resources that I could have needed to take care of myself. And I was still unhappy. And I couldn't really quite figure out why that was. I think I know that now. Or I know why. Anyway, it's out there. That fulfillment, that sense of satisfaction that I've never really had. I'm not going to find it here. I'm going to find it here, but I have to go out there to find it. I'm really excited.